and now Mercedes is in our association in FEACO is coordinating the commissions that interface the European Commission. She is a partner in KPMG. He's a partner in KPMG and is the focal point of all the European Commission affairs inside KPMG. So we have, and he's helping us in FEACO in this job.
Well, thank you for having me here. So if you're expecting me to bring good news, I'm sure I'm not going to bring some news. And lately, I'm finding myself to defend the principles that were the founding principles of Europe. And I like to see Jean Monnet still being mentioned sometimes. And it looks like I have another bad horse in which I'm betting, which is the consultants. So I'll try to tell you what we are doing in FEACO. It's true that we have to pursue it be our mea culpa. We are looking at ourselves and not looking as much to how many things can come out from the EU that affect our business. So I think we are now taking it more seriously. We have had some achievements, but we need more. And to get more, we need also you to feed us with your perception, with your position, with the difficulties you are finding, so we can convey that properly through the channels that we have been putting in place. I know that all of you have been talking about where are we, so I'm just going to spend a couple of slides explaining what kind of context we are playing in. So yes, there is a crisis of confidence. This is my only graph. So I'm not going to make any competition to others, but yes, there is a lack of trust in the EU and the EU institutions. And on the top of it, you have some of our members which also have existential questions, and not to mention the guy in the middle is Mr. Cameron, and I think it was clear for everybody. We also have a crisis. I'm not going to talk about the crisis, but remember that some of the good ideas of the European Commission let's say 3, 4, 5 years ago, were about creating Europe the most competitive space and the most competitive region in the world. And suddenly the crisis came and we forgot about being competitive. And we just thought about putting into agenda something which was never in the agenda, which was to creating a banking union. So European Commission has been a little bit opportunistic. Well, I think they had not that much of a choice. The debt, I'm not going to go into the details, you know it by heart. So yes, we are looking for our soul somehow. Don't think that the European Commission is just alone and they don't know where to go. There is something called Europa 2020, which is the wider vision of Europe, which defends a small, sustainable, inclusive growth. And there is lots of books about each of the adjective used, smart, inclusive, and sustainable. So we keep it for the conversation later on. The panorama will change. So our troika, let's say the head of European Parliament, Martin Schulz, the head of the European Commission, Mr. Barroso, and the head of the Council, Mr. Van Rompuy, will be gone in a year and a half. Elections are coming up at the European Parliament, and the agenda of the guys at the European Parliament do have an impact on what the European Commission is doing. And there is German elections, so don't underestimate that, yes, if Mrs. Merkel is back into business or not, will impact what is happening at the Commission. And at the top of it, yes, this is affecting the budget. So European Commission has a 7 years planned budget, and we are still fighting a lot to have it even approved. It was supposed to be approved back in October last year. We are in June. Rumors are that we are getting close, but we still don't have it. This is the famous budget, so I'm not going into the whole details, but we are talking about roughly a little bit less than 1 billion over the next 7 years, starting in 2014, 2020, meaning that the European Commission is managing a year roughly 140 billion a year. So this is the big figures. We were talking small, now we are talking big. Austerity has been going through because some articles have been going down, like cohesion, like digital agenda, and some others have going up, like issues on security, citizenship, climate change has been more or less maintained. Yes, the European Commission is caring about economic growth, and they have increased some of their commitments in some of the cross-border infrastructure, the famous Connecting Europe facility, and other areas. External aid, which is a big consumer as well. And I like one very easy figure, is the 1% GNI. Basically, remember that we are talking about big figures. We are just talking about every member state, every country contributing for 1% of his own GDP to the EU budget. So we have to put it back into perspective, what we are talking about. Let's be more concrete. FEACO and the EU. As Ezio, as Ricardo have been telling, we want to be the voice of the consultant profession with the EU institutions. We want to voice our concerns. We want to participate and to engage in the main issues which are being putting on the table. We want to engage not only when the decisions have been made, but we want to engage at the time the policy is coming out and the regulations. Just remember one thing as well. Regulations are not coming from the countries anymore. Regulations, even if the UK doesn't like it, are coming from Brussels. This is why they like so much Brussels, by the way. So we have to look at what Brussels is plotting, is preparing, is organizing, and we have to be close to them. So yes, as Ricardo was saying, FEACO is one of the is registered in the European Transparency Register as a player in that field. Challenges. There is probably pages of challenges, so I'm just going to focus on 4 of them. The business environment, which means migration issues, trade issues, crisis. Yes, the Small Business Act, which is not completely delivered. Yes, the conditions on how we work in the internal market. Internal market means the internal of the EU 27, soon to be 28 member states. The public finance are coming into the condition of the internal market because they are creating such austerity that they are also affecting the conditions of the market. The access to funding, as a second point, who are the big spenders of the European Commission? It's no longer agriculture. I think there is lots of people who are happy with that. So the big spenders are the ones which are promoting regional development and innovation as well. So European Commission is listening to what's happening outside there. They are also concerned about where to get money. So new instruments developing financial engineering are being put on the table, blending, and I'll come to that later on. The competitive environment. So this is the targets of the policy document called Europe 2020 and all the elements that it contains and how they are developing. And yes, one of the remains of the competitiveness of the EU was an ICT-based economy, which, by the way, was having a budget of 9 billion euros, where was slashed to 1 little billion over the 7 years period. So it becomes one little billion. We want to be seen, we want to be heard, we want to engage, and we want to contribute. So this is the context in which we are intervening. So within FEACO, we have not created 10 tons of structures. I'm liaising on this with Ricardo and via the EXCO, our board, with FEACO. And there is 2 commissions which are currently very active. One which has been active for years, which is the one on procurement, and another one which has been created more recently, which is on policy and regulations. So maybe I'll come to both of them. I'll start with the one on procurement. The idea of getting the voice of the consultants together, united, was based on the fact that a lot of companies were working in the external aid, which means all the countries outside the European Union, in the Balkans, in Africa, and in the rest of the world. And they were using funding mechanisms coming from the European Commission. These were working in an environment in which the procurement rules were not the ones expected to really play and put on place what we were thinking were needed. So we start talking to the Commission, and this is probably one of our biggest achievements, because we are regularly in discussions with the people at DEFCO, and we are consulted before the Prague manual, which is the manual of procurement, is coming out, and we are able to input. And in the last revision, which came out with a new Prague manual in January, most, not all of them, but most of our recommendations were taken on board. So this is a strong achievement. Another one is we are discussing on the agenda for change, in which the access to developing private sector in external aid and the blending of fundings are also on the table. And for this, we are organizing events, talking to the people at the Commission in charge of those issues and interacting with them. These events are in Brussels. They will be more regularly updated in our website, but they are open to all of you. The second working group, dedicated commission, is more on policies and regulations, which is basically the place in which each of us as a consultancies are participating. So yes, there is money, there is fundings to be put on the table. Let me note that yes, there is a social dimension striking to go back into the picture, because in the latest budget, we are talking about a youth and employment initiative, which is something very new. Nobody knows exactly how the money will be spent, so we probably need to have our famous budget to be approved, hopefully by the end of June, and maybe we will know what the Commission has as an idea to how to use it. I have also to reinforce what Ricardo was saying. The Commission has been going through major challenges. Just to mention one, the balance between European Parliament and European institutions, the creation of the European Diplomatic Service, the major cuts that they are going underway. They never call a consultant for those issues. Never. This is something that they do inside, because, you know, they have 15,000 public officials who know everything about transformation and change. So they think that they are smart enough to do it on their own. A little bit like in Spain, they come and they consult. And I think there is probably a cultural reason for that. Instead of engaging and seeing the consultant as an allied, how do you say that? Somebody you can partner with just to make things different. They just see a consultant like a moindre mal, they would say in French. So they have to go with the consultants because they cannot do it otherwise. So when the situation is that bad, they come to us. But they don't come in terms of consulting and talking to us. So this would have been our message to Commissioner Vice President Tajani, to tell them to engage us a little bit earlier. Not all of us, but at least to listen to us and just consider that we are not enemies, we are on the same boat, and this is the way we see the collaboration as well. What do we do? Because these are nice words. So on the procurement, so I'm coming always from the procurement, we are a recognized partner with DEFCO. We have put several papers on concrete issues such as global price, how the framework contracts should be working, procurement procedures, and the latest development has been a position letter that we have been sending all over the place to the MPs and to the European Parliament committees to defend the position, which is the fact that they want to enlarge procurement procedures, facilitate that all the countries can use only their own procurement procedures, particularly in the emerging countries, to open them to local firms. So of course we are open to use of local procedures in all the countries, but those have to be done fully within the context of the best practice, and we all have in mind a situation of corruptions and nepotism that should avoid at all costs. So if a good principle that European Parliament can defend on the table might have a very bad implementation on a daily life, and this is the letter that went out last week to the MPs, to the commissioners, to the people at the Commission, and for which we are quite hopeful that our position paper is already changing some of the positions. What do we do on the policy and regulation commissions? We are about to set up a meeting on the EU budget implication once the budget will be approved, and we will be discussing with them on how they are going to use this money. We are looking at the renewals on some of the expert panels in which we want to put a FEACO appointed people. And of course, we are very attentive to how the market conditions are affecting the consultancies. Again, common activities are lunches with people at the EU, people from the European Investment Bank, people from the European Parliament. The Ombudsman himself came twice to our meetings. We do also talk to other stakeholders like the Federation of European Federation of Engineers and again the European Investment Bank. This is my last slide, and I will be very happy to take questions on what I've been saying. EU is one of the largest consultancy market, but it's public sector. So it works with public procurement procedures, so you are all familiar that better not get it wrong, what to put in which envelope, and have all the documents in shape, so you can be just excluded because you don't have it in shape. There is different forms to engage with the European Commission. You can go to tenders, you're familiar with that. You can participate in proposal for calls and get some grants. You can be more into partnerships, so these are familiar for all of you. The Austrian colleague mentioned that we have to work more together. Yes, most of the jobs coming in the EU require that we have either a pan-European presence or even beyond. We can bring to all of you that you don't have the Brussels bubble understanding, so we can translate that for you. So I can bring on the table what are the views of Brussels, but I don't know what are the views of the different countries. So this communication has to go in two directions, so we can decide together what's the best way. And yes, the EU institutions, you can talk to them, you can approach them, we can make them more closer to you. The engagement to the EU is via the working groups that we have. The working groups are open to all. Again, I'm in Brussels, I'm in my Brussels bubble, and I don't maybe listen enough to all of you. So tell me what is happening around. Tell me issues that I haven't seen and that they need to be put on the market over there, on the corridors of Brussels. We are tracking all the issues. So again, we might have a distorted view because from Brussels we see things that are very important. Who is going to be the next commissioner? And maybe they are completely irrelevant for you. So we need this go-in-between to be developed further. And we are not only talking to the EU, there is other platforms, there is other stakeholders, there are other professional associations which are working the corridors in Brussels as well that we are talking to. So yes, come and visit us in the FEACO.org. We are updating all the latest developments. So you have an article, the press release on the Youth and Employment Fund. So we try to be updating real life what are the latest developments. So come and look, follow us. You need anything, you can contact me. You can contact Ezio and Ricardo. And I'm extremely keen to listen to your questions. Thank you.